verdict? This is question number 2. Do you agree with Bharat's decision to expel Canadian diplomats? 86% of the respondents have said Bharat took the right stand. 7% said no. 7% offer no opinion. Overwhelming number with Bharat's response, saying if they are going to disrespect our country and allow open intimidation and they are going to respect our diplomats, Bharat needs to take the right stand, and they have done so by expelling these Canadian diplomats from Bharatiya soil. Aman Sharma with us, Brahma Chellaney and also Adit Kothari with us, Siddhant also with us at this point. Aman, big word this and big thumbs up to the government's position. So clearly people of our country also want our government to show some spine.
Absolutely, Anand. And, the way the Canadian authorities acted in this particular manner, making our ambassador there and some diplomats, people of interest, they wanted to probe them, they wanted to investigate them without even furnishing the evidence on which they were going to investigate or probe them. I think what our survey is also showing, and what many people have said in the survey, that India was absolutely correct in expelling the Canadian diplomats from our soil, because Anand, because the evidence that India has presented to Canada over the last 1 year, the number of extradition requests which have been pending with Canada have not been acted upon. Pro-Khalistani activities which are happening in Canada, virtually unchecked. India has been complaining about that over the last couple of years at least, but there has been no action against them. And now when Canada acted in the manner they acted, our survey is also showing India was absolutely correct in expelling the Canadian diplomats, because the diplomatic relationship between both the countries has sunk to a never before low.
Respect begets respect. Disrespect will be met with disrespect. And you try and raise a finger, point a finger at us, we will show you how to pack a punch. Siddhant Mishra, big thumbs up for the MEA and the government from the viewers and the respondents of the News 18 Pulse survey.
Yes, that's right, Anand. And in fact, the people of India are watching these developments very, very carefully, Anand. And in fact, they are also hearing both sides. They are also understanding with the political motives of Mr. Trudeau, Anand. And he has kept the entire foreign policy of Canada, the strategic relations with India on stake, just to consolidate his position. And people of India are understanding it very, very well, very, very clearly. Also, Anand, the expulsion of Canadian diplomats. In fact, Anand, last year in October, when for the first time the Canadian diplomats were asked by the government of India to leave, because government of India told Ottawa that there needs to be parity in the presence of diplomats in both between both the countries, and Canada had more diplomats than India in New Delhi. So Indian government raised that issue, and perhaps that is under the Vienna Convention, that is allowed under the Vienna Convention. After which many Canadian diplomats were thrown out of New Delhi, were called back. That was the first time that India took a very strong stand against Canada. Now, this was the second time, Anand, where including the charge day affair, the other 6 were asked to leave the country. A strong decision by the government of India, and now in our surveys also it is being appreciated. And even the Indian people are liking it. The tough stance of the government of India.
You don't take the world's largest democracy lightly. Professor Brahma Chellaney, does this echo the sentiment of a common person on ground, saying that I would give you eye for an eye, and I will treat you like you treat me, and you better treat me with respect? Do you believe this is an endorsement of the government's position?
There has been a bipartisan consensus in India for many decades that when it comes to challenges to India's territorial integrity, sovereignty, and to its communal harmony, those challenges require a robust response. Now look at what Trudeau's father, the then Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, did. When a militant Quebec separatist group carried out several terrorist attacks, he invoked the War Measures Act to crush that group. But here we have Canada openly preaching the red lines of India, red lines on separatism and terrorism. But to some extent, Anand, we are to blame. That is India. After all, the problem that we are confronting today is not a new problem. It goes back to the time when Pierre Trudeau was the Prime Minister. He permitted Khalistan militancy to thrive in Canada. He helped turn Canada into a hub hub for terrorism and terror financing, which is why we had the twin bombings of the twin Air India bombings. Two separate jetliners of Air India were bombed in 1985. One bombing misfired, killing 2 baggage handlers, but the other bombing killed all passengers on board that aircraft. We let Canada off the hook over the bombing of Flight 182,
correct,
in which 329 people were killed, which resulted in Canada not instituting a commission of inquiry into that bombing for 21 long years. 21 long years. And they didn't bring a single perpetrator to justice. The mastermind of those bombings, according to Canadian inquiries, Talvinder Parmar, was eventually killed by police in India after he sneaked into Punjab from Pakistan. Now under Justin Trudeau, we ignored warnings from our own diplomats based in Canada about how Justin Trudeau was emboldening Khalistan terrorists. We woke up only after Trudeau got up in Parliament in September last year and made an allegation against India.
Right.
I think we need to put sustained pressure on Canada. They expelled 6 Indian diplomats. We expelled 6 of their diplomats from here. This is too reactive. We need to spotlight what Canada is doing. No civilized country should be doing. This is, open encouragement of terror. It's clear that Canada, along with the US, are using the Khalistan card to try to revive Khalistan militancy in India's Punjab.
Right.
We should not allow either Canada or the US to play the Khalistan card against India. So we have to be proactive. We have to exert sustained pressure.
So your point is there are those who believe that India should match Canada in the diplomatic escalation ladder. Professor Chellaney, you are saying we shouldn't match them, we should outdo them in terms of the robustness of the response, and we should go 3 steps forward and take far more stronger measures so that we dissuade Canada from even climbing the next step on the escalation ladder. Adit Kothari, where do you stand on this response by the people, the respondents of the News 18 Pulse survey, where 86% of the respondents who we have finally taken, they have said that they agree with Bharat's countermeasures?
I think, it demonstrates that, how much the people appreciate the government demonstrating reciprocity and demonstrating some spine. I mean, so long, the government of India has never acted in this way. This is absolutely, so to say, out of character. Since 2014, we've seen this robust foreign policy where India is taking a stronger stance on its own interests, on its own red lines, and it's making it very clear to the world. It's also sort of emerging as this voice of the global south, where it's putting across the nuances and the grievances of the global south, as we saw in the G20, appearing as that voice for the African Union that was lauded by the globe. So all in all, I think it shows that, the Indians are coming out of the shadows now. They're embracing their new identity. They're embracing their sort of place in the world and their direction towards a sort of a more sort of a robust Bharat. All in all, but it also points out towards that Western hypocrisy, the double standards that have long harbored. I mean, I live in England, for instance, and we all know that the Khalistan movement was basically propagated and initiated in England itself. The first Khalistan house was in England. And we have Colin Bloom, who is an interfaith advisor to the British Parliament. He submitted a report last year to the British Parliament, basically outlining that, the Khalistanis, they're a fringe element, but they're a very vocal element and they're a very intimidating element. So if the government does not discourage them or does not have sort of ways to ensure that they do not sort of take civil society at large at ransom, at hostage, then they will basically become a problem for the larger civil society. So there are voices now, even in the West, who are waking up to the menace of importing subcontinental politics for their own political benefits and using it as carrot and stick.
We have to also appreciate that these elements cannot do it unless they've been propped up. So is there a tacit state backing? Is Canada now the puppet in the hands of the American deep state, like Pakistan was here? Many are saying that Canada is fast turning into the Pakistan of the West.